All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We are so happy that you're here with us today. I know everybody's traveling, going to a lot of different conferences, working on their trials, but the fact that you've taken a chance to block off your schedule and be with us is just wonderful. I am so excited because we are going to hear from some of our great friends. We've got Chip who's coming back with us. Chip, it is great to see you today.
Great to see you
And then
too. Thank you.
we got Tom and Andrew who's coming in, and you guys are going to learn so much. I want you to ask your questions. You can put those in the chat box or the Q&A box, and both Chip and I will kind of keep an eye on those for you. And then after the webinar, you'll be able to reach out to Chip to get a copy of any of the information or slides that you've seen today. You can reach out to Tom and Andrew if you guys have any questions. And then later in this webinar, you're going to meet lots of our friends who work over at Fox AE, Anytime AI, as well as On Point Legal Nurse Consulting. And then also just I will be putting some information in the chat with you about some of the seminars that we have coming up across the country. But we are glad that you guys are with us today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our wonderful friend who's our speaker and moderator today. So we have Chip who is coming in, and I know you guys have seen him on some of our past webinars. But for those of you who don't know Chip, he is a visionary leader, author, and technologist in digital marketing. He's best known for writing digital marketing for law firms, the secrets to getting more clients and better cases. So I will put that in the chat box in case you want to check it out. He's also the founder and the CEO of LaFleur Marketing, which is a Grand Rapids-based growth engine partner nationally recognized for its data-driven and human-centered strategies that help law firms and healthcare organizations, as well as financial institutions, grow with their purpose and their precision. Um, a recognized voice in the evolution of AI in marketing, Chip has led the development of proprietary AI tools such as the AI Knowledge Base, Longest Tail AI, Clearboard, and others, platforms that transform data into actionable insight as well as creative direction. And through LaFleur, he actually continues to pioneer the integration of analytics, automation, as well as creativity. And he helps elevate all of that. He works with professional service organizations, connects clients and communities together. And in addition to his engagements with us here at Connectionology, he's a frequent speaker and industry educator, presenting for organizations that include the American Marketing Association, GR Tech Week, Spartan Innovations, as well as the University of Michigan and the State Bar of Michigan. And his talks, they explore topics like AI adoption, digital transformation, as well as brand humanization. That all equips all these professionals, too, by the way, to thrive in an increasingly intelligent marketing landscape. But outside of Chip's professional life, he's passionate about expanding technology across all of those underserved communities, ensuring that innovation benefits everybody. He's a lifelong learner, a technologist, as well as a driven by the belief that creativity, data, and purpose-driven leadership can transform organizations and lives. And I just wanted to say, Chip, I think John Romano would love that word, technologist. Because if you know you've been with Connectionology, you know that John Romano is a connectionologist. So, anyway, guys, we are so happy to have you with us today. You're in good hands, and I hope that you guys will ask a lot of questions. Let's learn a lot. Okay. Chip, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so much, Ginger. I appreciate it. Also, note for next time, I need to shorten that intro because, man, I made that way too long, or someone did. I don't know who did that, but
We like to cover our bases here, Chip.
oh
We've
my
got
gosh, that was
incredible
very
speakers.
thorough. That was very thorough. I appreciate it, but um, anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I just want to make a quick intro for the rest of the folks who are on this with us. Tom Crosley is an outstanding trial lawyer in San Antonio, the principal at Crosley Law. Tom and I have been working together, I think around 17 years, something like that. Just an outstanding, I can't say expert, I don't think technically, but uh, expert on TBI, wonderful speaker, a very good friend of mine. And then Andrew Crosley, who I've been working with for less time, but who I've known for about the same amount of time, um, is just one of, I think, the leading minds in AI development and implementation. So I'm really excited about what we're going to talk through as we get into this session here. So I'm going to start out by sharing my screen here. Hopefully everybody can see that. Um, so we're going to talk about real AI workflows for law firms. We're going to cover this in a couple of different parts here. So myself, I've talked about this topic a few times in different areas. We'll get into that. Andrew is um, going to cover what that can look like and some of the things that he's built there. And then Tom's going to talk through kind of the business case there. So, um, as I mentioned before, I've been running this sort of webinar for a little while now with Connectionology, and most of what we've covered has been in these first two buckets here. So getting set up safely. So the basics of AI, what it is, how it works, how you can interface with it. And of course, as time has moved forward, the initial programs that we talked through were based on the technology that we had at the time. So our first session, we talked a lot about ChatGPT and what it meant to set up an enterprise or business account versus a personal, and why it makes sense to get a business account, how to prevent the platform from training on your data. Some basic things to get started. April, we covered Claude for work and co-work, um, and how to get AI to actually start doing things. Still, a lot of that is chat based, but the ability to go in and direct your AI to actually start creating documents for you to parse information uh, tied in well with the first episode or with the first session, because we need to have those safety pieces in place. But we were starting to move away from just that chat bot and into more practical workflows. And today we're going to talk about some real AI workflows. So we're going to start moving away from chat a little bit, but we're going to try to keep this accessible. Like I said, I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes to cover the concepts that we're going to demonstrate, some of the vocabulary, ideas behind it. Andrew's going to then walk you through some of the tools that he's built in his role at Crosley Law. So, some really cool stuff there. And then Tom and I could talk a little bit about the business impact that he's experienced, that he's seen across his firm, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A at the end. So, as we go out and we do a lot of webinars, but we do a lot of in-person presenting. I do a lot of in-person presenting too, and we start having the conversations. And the consistent response that I get is, do you use AI? Yes. And the answer is always yes. I use it every day. But when we start to really dive in and listen carefully to what people are talking about, what we find is that people who are using it and who use it every day, um, it's not a great measurement, right? So how often we use it doesn't indicate how deeply we use it. And so we find that most people, probably about 95%, are having conversations with their chatbot. And there's nothing wrong with that. I still do that, of course, and there's a lot of value there. But where we really start to see value is when we move past that chat. So chat is a great entry point. It's a way to get us into those systems and understand how they work. But as we move on, and as we covered in the last session, we can also use AI across Claude, ChatGPT, and others to actually start doing work. So a lot of times that's reading, drafting documents, searching case files, running multi-step workflows, doing some of these processes while we sleep or while we're not paying, right on top of it. Between our last session and this one, of course, new features have come out, including the ability to just schedule things. We were doing that kind of programmatically, and now that's built in. So we want to start to kind of bridge that gap. So same tool, couple different jobs. So as a chatbot, answers your questions, but you have to be pretty specific. We heard a lot early on about prompt engineering, and it still exists, but it's very different now. Values capped a little bit by your typing speed or your dictation speed, depending on if you're using a tool there or not. But it's still limited. It doesn't get out of that box. And then working with AI as a system, it can work through the entire matter. It can connect directly to your file stores, read your data. It can output finished work product, quote unquote finished. And as it gets smarter, as it learns your system, it gets better and better at doing the things that you ask it to do. So in practice, you know, a 5-minute process could be giving a paragraph summary of these depositions in a document. The folder, if it's connected, it will go into the folder. It will do the summary. and it will give that to you. We've built some of those things around knowledge bases. Andrew's built those in practice at the firm. And what we like to do when we're thinking through this is really start to think about areas within the organization, within the enterprise, where we can target the things that oftentimes people don't enjoy doing. It takes away from their creative output. It takes away from their thinking, but it's still things that have to be done. So intake calls, when we get a phone call and it's a potential client, we want our team to be fully focused on the conversation. The person on the other end of that call could feel that the person is engaged, that our intake staff is engaged when they're really listening and empathetic. When they have to type as quickly as they can to capture some of those details, it takes them away from the focus there. Medical records, making sure they're organized, they're legible, the data gets put where it needs to go. Discovery dumps where we have tons and tons of raw data we need to process. Um, Depot and expert prep, to be able to come in there with a clear structure that we're going in really, really is going to help. And these are some of the things, again, that Andrew has built out for us. So let's talk definitions a little bit. We're going to talk about models a little bit. And so when we talk about models, that is the AI, right? So that's ChatGPT runs a number of different models. Claude, which I tend to use more, runs uh, Fable, Opus, etc. Most of those are frontier models. So, or all of those really are frontier models. So those are the best models that we currently have access to, hosted on outstandingly fast data centers, great response time, and great context length. So that means they remember a lot. But there are other type of models that we can use. And one of the downsides of a frontier model, for example, is a frontier model, we have to send our data to it one way or another. We'll talk about some ways to kind of modify that too, but we have to send our information from it. And now, depending on our relationship with that company, that can create some problems. Local models also exist. And if you have any family that's in the gamer community, likes to play video games, you probably heard them complain about GPUs and the cost of GPUs, which have gone crazy. That's because local models can operate on a desktop computer, on a local GPU. They can also operate on a sufficiently fast MacBook Pro, just because they use a slightly different architecture there. But while these models are not technically as smart as these frontier models, it doesn't mean that they can't be as good or better than the frontier models at doing certain things. And the nice thing about them is your data never actually leaves your system. So it stays local. Now, that also doesn't by default mean that it's safer, but generally speaking, if you have good network security and things like that, it is quite a bit safer. We still have different plans for the different model providers. Again, assuming ChatGPT or Anthropic, we can have a personal plan, a business or team plan, an enterprise plan, and we can have API or platform access. I want to go to the next one because this is going to kind of tie in here. But um, we don't want to use a personal plan. We don't want people on our team using a personal plan for work-related things. Those personal plans can be used to train the models more often than not. We can't just change that off in the settings. So that's a risk. And also, just like you wouldn't want someone to use a personal Gmail or a Dropbox or something like that, employees can drop files into that personal plan, or if they pay for it themselves. And then if you ever part ways with them, they retain all of that. So don't use it. Use a team business plan, enterprise plan, API. We'll get into a little bit what that means here in a minute. But so that splits a little bit further when we're talking about enterprise plans and engagements with some of the frontier models. Enterprise with Anthropic, and I'm going to focus a little bit more on Anthropic here because Anthropic has a viable path towards a BAA, whereas ChatGPT, OpenAI has one, but the volume is not conducive to the type of firms generally that we're talking to. So with Anthropic, we can get an enterprise agreement with them. We can get a BAA with Anthropic at a reasonable seat count. It's still It still has a cost to it. Um, but it's a path for us to then ensure some compliance and make sure that liability chain stays in place for the BAA and for HIPAA compliance. But there's also a strange one, which is Claude via AWS Bedrock. Um, in that scenario, Claude actually lives inside your own AWS account. You pay API rate, so you pay when you use the service only. It's not a subscription, but the data stays in your cloud and it stays underneath the AWS BAA and compliance program that you may already have if you're using Bedrock. So it's a little bit of a way to get some of the best of both worlds. You get the privacy of your own private model, um, but you still get frontier performance. So, in terms of who needs one, if you have PHI that passes through the entity, you need a BAA with them. So the AI providers, OCR, parsing tools, etc. And if you don't have a BAA, then don't let them have any PHI. So here's the theory now around what Andrew's going to walk through here. Um, So how he has it set up, and he'll get into much more detail here, but local model is using OCR, so optical character recognition. It's going to go through and it's going to clean up his documentation. He's going to put it into a structured case database. Once it's clean and it's structured, then it can be brought through a frontier model. Um, and not just brought to a frontier model, but actually have the source documents that it can reference. And then he's able to do all sorts of things with it at once. And I will not provide too much of a spoiler there and let him walk through that. Um, Again, on the PHI side, a BAA is one-to-one, right? It covers two entities and that's it. So make sure that you're not moving outside of that. Don't share PHI if you don't have a BAA. Consumer accounts, we covered that. Don't use a personal account because you don't have coverage and the person using it could leave. And then just one note, today's demos are not going to show any real people's data. It's 100% synthetic. Andrew went through and made sure that that was all clean. So speaking again on the model side, different models function differently. And so Andrew's going to show us how small local models can do great work, sometimes at a better output and rate than some of the frontier models. Consumer subscriptions, that's where we have a certain amount of usage that we're allowed. And I burn through that every week in like 2 days. And so I have to find different ways to get things done. Zero retention enterprise, that's another one that can be used for some things. We could talk about that in the Q&A a little bit, but we can move documents through in an enterprise without them storing it, which has some advantages. And then Cloud via AWS, best for frontier AI inside firm-controlled infrastructure. It still is leaving the premises, but it's through a BAA relationship that you have. So from here, I'm going to hand it off to Andrew to jump into the demo. I'm going to turn off my screen share. And then Andrew, you are welcome to take it over.
Great. So
There we
I'm
go.
gonna share my screen real quick. I sent a request to the host.
And while he's speaking, I'm going to um, monitor for questions as well. And we have a couple. How do we view the videos for sessions 1 and 2? I can send that link out. Ginger should have it. I think both of those are on YouTube on Connectionology, but we can send a follow-up email with some of that.
Cool. So thanks, Trip. And before I show you anything clever, I want to show you this one document. So this is a 3-page medical record from a car crash case. It's been faxed, photocopied, scanned in crookedly, and somewhere along the way I picked up this coffee stain we see here. So quick show of hands in the chat. How many of you have a case file like this somewhere in one of your cases? I would assume it's all of you. Um, and so every vendor demo you have ever seen probably skips this page, and every case is full of these. So that's where I'm going to start here. And because if the workflow can't survive this page, then the rest of the deck is no good. So there are exactly two ways that a document like this can break your AI plan. Failure mode one, it cannot leave the building. So this document includes a name, date of birth, social security number, medical record number, policy ID, phone number, addresses we see. So we planted 26 identifiers across 3 pages, covering 18 of the HIPAA identifier categories. Real files are worse than this. Send it to a consumer chatbot, and the PHI just left your custody. Failure mode 2, you can't trust what comes back. Basic OCR will happily turn a letter Z into a number 2, flip a 0 to a 6, delete an hour of a time with no warning at all. It fails silently. So to make this concrete, um, I want to, so go this up. So by default, a scan page doesn't have a text image. So if you pass a pile of these to an AI model, unless it's turning them all into pictures and looking at them, it's going to see 0 characters extracted. A scan is a photograph. There's no text underneath defined. And if I run basic OCR on this, I'll show you what the output looks like. So I'm going to copy all of this and I'm going to drop it in here. It's extremely inaccurate. Um, so, and it's actually worse than I thought it was going to be. So let me show you this one that I prepped, which is a little bit better. So this looks fine at a glance, paragraphs, headings, shape of the document, but here's the trap. So this policy number in the source document, it is ZTX. When I OCR'd it just now, it turned the Z into a 2. So we're already seeing errors. And there are a number of errors throughout here. Another one, this crash time, approximately 55. So the crash happened at 55. We don't know when 55 is. We'd have to look at the source document to see that it was 8:55. Nothing flagged this. It just handed us a clean looking document that's quietly wrong in a dozen places that matter. And that's a silent error. So a fax, a photo of a document, basic OCR, it doesn't even manage in a case like this to look fine. So I want to show you the pipeline that we actually run over a document like this one. It's 4 steps. We parse it locally using 2 independent OCR engines that read everything and check each other. Then we redact in 3 layers and audit against ground truth. So then and only then does a language model like Claude or ChatGPT get to touch it. So every number you'll see is measured. I'm going to run through it. It's not marketing, and you'll watch me do it live. So one quick request before I jump in. This task manager is a GPU graph. So keep an eye on the GPU graph and also the network graph. And so the whole compliance story here is that the data is never leaving the building. All this processing is happening directly on my computer. So I'm going to go back here and click parse. You'll see loading up the models locally on my computer. You can see the disk is changing, and then you'll see the GPU. So this will take a little bit. Right now, the machine is loading 2 of the OCR engines, about 26 gigabytes of models onto my graphics card. And you'll see memory climbing, and the network graph is staying flat. So nobody's API is seeing this document. And while it loads, here's what's going to happen. So both engines read all three pages independently. The pipeline reconciles them, keeps the agreements, and flags wherever they disagree. So um, a cold start takes a little bit longer, but if the model's already loaded up, you can do this fairly quickly. Um, and we've run this on thousands of pages, tens of thousands of pages. Um, so this boring minute is the whole compliance story of everything's happening on my computer. And looks like we are almost done. So in here we can see the documents are, well, they're populating right now. So this folder did not exist when I started sharing my screen. And it looks like the models have offloaded here on the right. Um, so the OCR engine unloaded dedicated memory drops, and done with OCR means we're now done with OCR. Nothing stays resident holding our documents. And the cool part about this, the models that I'm running, it's the same every time. So if I want to go back and audit it, running it each time, same input, same output. And because of that, um, determinism becomes the entire redaction story. So everything can be traced back to the original. So let's look at what came out. So remember this before, and using the 26 gigabyte model on my consumer grade hardware, computer right under my desk, we get an output that looks like this. So already much better. And we've essentially solved failure mode one. Now the issue is that this still has PHI, so um, that's what I'm going to show you next. So let me go back to. So again here, I'm loading up multiple models, and this might take a while as the models load up. Um, and so every time the issue with this is that errors happen silently. We don't know when the errors happen. Um, if you're using a program, then every error gets flagged into a review queue that a paralegal can then go through and read through, correct and improve the system. And once you tell the system that something should have been this instead, then it never messes up on that because of the determinism. Same input, same output. So if we're changing the script based on something that we fixed or added, then the script will be fixed from then on. And next time it runs into an error like that, it's handled. Um, so the one thing to take home is that the failure mode is now a flag. It's not a silent error, and the failures are far less frequent. And if you're running this over months, then it's almost entirely optimized. I rarely run into any errors anymore. So what the redaction did, it went through and every time that um, every so there were multiple models. One of the models reads, it is trained on medical record data, and here, let me show you this.
While you're pulling it up, Andrew, we got a couple questions around the
Okay.
name for the OCR.
Uh-huh.
Are you using Llama Parse or are you using something else for that?
No, this is these are local models that I downloaded online. So Lamaparse is a company. They offer BAAs, and they can do the parse part of what I just showed you at scale much faster, and it's fairly inexpensive. Um, the only issue with that is that the data is still leaving your servers, even if you're
Mhm.
disabling cache, and there are a few other protective measures that you can take. Um, the cool part about this is that it happens under my desk, the entire thing. So
Yeah, and the models, you're getting the models from Hugging Face. We had another question around that.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Hugging Face. So Hugging Face is a website. I think they have maybe 2.5 million models, AI models that you can download at this point, and um, they're free to use, free to download, free to make changes to, and they run locally on computer.
So Mark, your question, the exact name for the OCR program. I mean, you wrote the software, right, using
Hmm.
Cursor and Claude. So it's not a OCR program. Uh, it's software developed by Andrew for this specific purpose, and then using a Hugging Face model and identifying which Hugging Face model to use, and then um, and then with that, he's using the model to do the OCR.
And I can give you or tell you what the models are. I always swap in I'll run verification tests. I'll tell Claude to download all these models, make a synthetic data set, and test all of them against each other so that I'm always running the best model.
So site names Hugging Face, I think is one of the main ones, right?
Hugging Face is the site where I downloaded these models, all of
And
them.
and then what are you using to run the models?
Um, there are a number of ways. Usually Claude figures that out for me. It's either transformers or VLM, some pretty technical terms, but
Okay.
Claude can do most of that for you.
I mean, I use LM Studio to run my local
Hmm.
models, and I think
That's another one.
on a lot of times on PC, people are going to use Olama
Hmm.
and run them there. You're using something different?
So I have, with the redaction pass, I have an open LLM that runs on Olama,
Okay,
um, and then transformers for another, and then Llama C++.
nice. I hope, Clayton, I hope that answered your question there.
Cool. So the reason that we're using multiple models is because each layer fails in a different way. And so um, s- um, I won't spend a lot of time looking for them. Um, okay, so here is the original document. And then as it's passing through each layer, we see changes. So this one's already making changes. We have another regex that's making more changes. And then everything gets logged and turned into a redaction key. And the cool part about this redaction key is it makes everything reversible. So I could then pass this back into the model and it would swap everything that we see over here back for the PHI once it's in its final form. So it lands on your desk as it would if you upload the original documents to a Frontier model. Um, so we see the side by side here, and each piece of sensitive information gets converted into a placeholder tag temporarily.
So just let's take a quick break. We can hand it over to Patrick from OnPoint and Ryan from Fox AE, and then we'll circle back.
Sounds good.
Thank you guys so much. This is going so great. And I love that all the questions are coming in from everyone as well. Please, guys, keep that coming. I'm going to go ahead and bring in our good friend Patrick, who has been a nurse with On Point Legal Consulting for I mean, well over 21 years. We're excited to have him here with us today, and he's got a lot of cool things that he would like to share with you guys. And you've probably seen him recently speak on a lot of our nursing home webinars, but he does handle work with all sorts of different cases and all over the country. But Patrick is coming in with us, and then I am bringing his Khalil in to help show a couple slides for you guys as well.
Hi, Ginger.
How are you doing today, Patrick?
I'm wonderful. Nice to see you.
Good. Oh, we're doing great. It's good to see you too, and we're excited that you're here with us today.
Yes, very excited. And Chip, very nice to see you again. It's been a while, so it's always a pleasure to catch up. I am so today. First of all, thank you for having us, Ginger. And like Ginger said, my name is Patrick, and I'm one of the directors over at OnPoint. For those of you who know me, and yes, I have been a nurse only 21 years now. So don't age me by saying well over 21 years. We're very excited about today because the people that have known us for years with Connectionology, I always give my normal how we can support you guys. And of course, we still do that. So we can provide experts behind the scenes. We do the pain and suffering reports, which are always a fantastic addition to your cases. We really like to consider ourselves an extension of your staff. So OnPoint is run by nurses. We now have a fantastic, wonderful technology side, which is my friend Khalil that's going to be sharing his screen. We really wanted to launch this new product and show you how we're utilizing it on our side. We love AI, of course. It's a fantastic component that we utilize daily, but we also really have to show the expertise that our nurses and our medical experts, like our doctors, can bring to the table as well. So we developed this product. That we're going to show you some of the screens that Khalil has developed. This has been a process that's been going on for many, many months, and it's really showing us the differences between utilizing the fantastic speed of AI and the expertise of all of our nurses with the years of experience that we have. So what we're looking at is we always start with the record review. So as a nurse goes through and the doctors go through, we're really looking at a full medical record, hopefully a full medical record, and we can help you with that as well. So the record review, how I start, and this is just for me, we're always looking at a nursing home case with an MDS. So the MDS, of course, is the comprehensive assessment that really kind of sets the stage of what is supposed to be happening in these skilled facilities. So we upload all the records and the system will bookmark all the records. And then we'll have this wonderful section to where the nurse is actually going through and saying, this is a strength of the case. So based off the MBS, I'm going to say this is verified by a nurse. It's going to highlight it. So we know, and the attorneys know as they're going through this system, you're going to specifically see that this is a highlighted section that the nurse feels it's a strength to the case and is going to build the case for you guys. The second part, this is a wound case, and this is actually a for real case. So this is a wound case. We're going to highlight this again. And we're going to say this is a strength. This is the first time the pressure ulcer has been identified in the record. Huge deal that we need to start from there. So as we're going through all the records, we'll go through more of the progress notes, the TARs, the MARs, all of those wonderful things that are in our records. And in this section, we're going to highlight, and we're going to say we need to highlight this as a strength. And then we need to go a little bit further because this is where it's misclassifying this pressure injury. They said it was excoriation, and there's a big difference between excoriation and pressure injuries. The next part in the care plan, I need to find a little bit more information. So I'm going to corroborate this with all of our other records. So it's going to pull up on this side. You can see the pop-up screen. It's going to pull up all of the other parts where the care plan touches and the 2-hour hourly checks that they're supposed to be doing, turning and repositioning. So when we get these records, this is about 5,000 pages. So I can quickly go through and say, based off of this, I need to see this, this, and this. So we can corroborate that and we can go through the whole entire record. The other part is some of the records are either absent, it's a negative part. I need to strike it from the record because it's either not important or it's not going to end up in one of the expert reports or in the merit screen. The other parts, when we go through the whole document section, We're then going to build the case review. So based off of everything that the nurse has gone through, the strengths, the weaknesses, corroborating with other parts of the record, it's all coming back to where then we're going to come into an actual case review. So the next screen will be everything that the nurse actually did based off of using AI to help us, and then pull up this nursing facility review. So it's going to give us all of our findings based off of the nurse. It's going to flag our F tags, the federal tags on the right-hand side. That's highlighted so we can quickly go out to Medicare site and see what these F tags actually are. It's always hyperlinking back to the records, of course. And then some of the coolest features coming down is it's going to go back down and to kind of section these off, protect, the care issues, if there's documentation issues. And this really starts the whole merit screen process. We're always going to put out some defenses of what they're going to think. Our timelines and trends, since this is a wound care case, we're going to give you the trends right in front of you. We have all of our measurements for the wounds. Again, we're using the speed of AI, but also the expertise of all of our nurses, the MDS. And then one of the coolest part, or I think the whole thing's cool, but the CMS payroll. So if these are any federal facilities, it's going to immediately go out to the CMS's data and pull the information from the data that it's publicly available and match it with the length of stay for the actual patient that's there. And this specific case was not known when we first took it on. When we pulled the payroll records and the staffing records, from Medicare, we found that this individual had the lowest staffed facility in the state of Louisiana on the 5 days before this pressure injury was identified, and then became a stage 4 and then unstageable pressure injury. And she eventually passed away from her injuries. So it's a really cool way of using kind of both the expertise of our nurses and our doctors and the speed that we go through. And then as more records come in, we put it back into the system. We kind of rerun everything. We go back through, and we really want it to be used as a collaboration between our group and then all of you guys, to be able to, you guys can go in there as well. You can add your notes, you can highlight things, you can highlight something, ask the nurse, is this important, and so on and so forth. So it's a cool product. We're really excited about it. Khalil has spent days and days and days and sleepless nights of getting it to where it makes sense for, the compassion that nurses bring that AI can't bring, and the speed that we kind of can produce this and bring it back to all of you guys. So if anyone wants individual demonstrations, I will put, of course, my contact information in the chat box. And let me know. We would love to be able to show it to you guys. It's case by case basis. So if it's a complex case and you want to use it, great. It's not subscription, or it's pay for what you want to be used. And we have a really quick turnaround time, and then you use it through your whole entire case discovery. So it's a pretty cool product, and I hope you guys will use it.
Love that. And Patrick, if you could get me some sort of synopsis of this again, I'll also email it to everybody as well, because there might be some follow-up questions to this. But
Yeah, 100%.
awesome job. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and congratulations on this new feature.
Awesome. Talk to you guys soon.
Yep. And then we've got our great friend who is coming in, Ryan from Fox IE, to talk about all the amazing things that they do over there, from animations, demonstratives, graphics, you name it. Ryan, we are so pleased to have you with us today. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Ginger. Patrick, nice to see you. We were emailing earlier.
Hey, nice to see you, Ryan.
Yeah. So like Ginger said, we specialize in animations, illustrations, visual boards, for any type of case. So think medical malpractice, slip and falls, construction cases, anything that needs accident reconstruction. And what we do is we work with you and your experts that are involved. So the experts, lay that foundation with their report, and then we work off of that to create an accurate animation, one that's going to really play to the strengths of your case, while not exposing weaknesses as well. And that helps so that you don't get it thrown out, because the defense is always going to throw up objections. So we've got a quick one to show you here. I've sped it up because it's a couple of minutes, but it's a construction case where there was a wrong beam design that was installed. So what we do to start is compare what the wrong beam was versus what the right beam was, and how much weight each of them could have supported. So as you can see, huge difference in the amount of weight in this beam being able to hold. After we show that, then we go and show, okay, what happened because this wrong sized beam was installed. We have a little bit of footage that pops up. This is the only footage from the incident, but it helps us match up our animation with timing, with how exactly it happened, and then we can kind of rotate and show the injury happening. So this is a paraplegic injury, fracture to spine. We're able to show it real time and then zoom in and do a recreation, like a 3D recreation of the spine with the scans, the CT scans. And then we can even overlay the scans on top of it. So there's a lot we can do. This one's more of a mechanism of injury case, but also focusing on the faulty installation or the wrong beam. We've got plenty more cases. Here's just kind of a quick overview of our examples or cases we've worked on. So medical side of things, imaging, mechanism of injury, car crashes, kind of you name it, and we've got it in our library. So reach out to me with your case. Let's chat through it. It only takes a few minutes to kind of get an overview, and then I can show you a relevant example. And then, yeah, we can go from there. But thanks, Ginger.
Absolutely. And please put those links to your website in the chat box because I know everyone will want to click through that. And Ryan, thank you so much for popping in today. Hopefully it is cooler where you are than it is here in Florida.
We're at 90 today.
Okay, never mind. All right. Thank you so much for being with us. And now we're going to get back to the great presentation. Chip, I saw some good questions were coming in, and I didn't know if you wanted to take those now or wait. Totally up to you.
Let me take a look real quick.
I was monitoring those also. I saw
Oh, good.
one asking if I could go into more detail, and I absolutely can. I think that might be better serve as a follow-up conversation, as something I've been working on over a pretty long period of time. But I would love to go into as much detail as you'd like, and I would be happy to even share the entire process. I could upload it to a repository if anybody's interested. I saw another question about Presidio.
Yeah.
I'm actually using Presidio as one of the layers for redaction. So I have one model is called OpenMed, and it's trained on medical text. And then I'm also using Presidio. And so, and then I'm also using a third LLM to do a final pass over everything.
Just to kind of tack onto that too, we've talked a little bit about Hugging Face and that open source there, and a lot of this work, and this is by far like our most technical session on this topic, but a lot of what we're doing is a lot of what Andrew is doing is we're taking tools that exist, open source models that we have access to. Of course, he has to have access to the hardware to be able to run them. But then we're combining that with the existing code bases through GitHub, where they have an entire program, an entire software suite to do something, but it's open source, so it's accessible to us. And what we can do with that is we can then take that software and we can install it locally, we can run it. We can review the code so we can see if there's something malicious in it. It's not like just downloading something from the internet. And then we're pairing that with a model. And a lot of times it may be we're using this repo, which just means a repository. So this one file or this one program that's on GitHub, we're taking that, we're pairing that with a model. A model is doing the work, but it's doing work based on what the repository is designed it to do. The security risk generally is low. You still need to be cautious, of course, but ChatGPT or Claude Code is your friend there. It can do a review of the code, and everybody else can too. And if something is malicious, it will get found out generally pretty quickly. But this is iterative, right? So we are creating our own software, but we're also utilizing software that's been built by sometimes pretty aggressive teams who build some great things. Just because it's not a paid product doesn't mean it's not very, very valuable.
Nice. I saw a question about RAM. I have 128 gigabytes of RAM, but I'm also running everything through a pipeline, so I'm not running multiple models in parallel, and I could do the same process with less RAM. Um, for this, the cap would probably be 64 gigabytes of RAM, um, if unless you were okay with compromising the throughput speed. But let's see other questions. And yes, so everything that I just demonstrated is running on my machine, so I don't need a BAA. That it never left. I could turn the Wi-Fi off, unplug my Ethernet cable, and the pipeline would still run um, from a raw scan document to the clean redacted version of the document with the key. I see a comment about Kaggle. I haven't personally tried Kaggle, but definitely check it out. Um, And if it has data sets, that's great. I either synthesize the data sets using Claude, just ask it to make a data set, or I download something off of Hugging Face, but I'll definitely check out Kaggle.
Quick time check too. I think you've got two more demos to run through, right?
Yes.
All right, and then we've got more time for Q&A at the end too. But I want Tom to have an opportunity to talk about kind of the business side of this because the other, I think the technical side is important, but also how does someone who's running a firm build out the team who can help them do this if this isn't something that they're doing themselves. And if it is, we want to make sure that we're a resource there. But I want to give Tom a little bit of time to talk to the impact and then also, how he might go about that.
So um, with that demo that I just ran through, I did jump around a lot and I skipped a lot of steps, and I could probably talk about that one part of the demo for a couple hours. So that was demo one. It was 3 pages, 66 replacements, zero residual, and then verified against the planted answer key because it was all synthetic, reversible, and nothing left the building. And that's the exact pipeline that I've run on across more than 500,000 pages at this point at our firm. So PHI safe, cited, reversible, and ready for a frontier model like Fable or GPT 5.6. Um, so that raises the question, what do you actually do with 500,000 clean pages? And so that's the second demo because parsing was never the goal. It was the ticket in. So I'll quickly show you what the ticket buys. Most of these workflows take hours to run, so unfortunately I won't be running anything live. Um, but here's what the ticket buys. So the say the defense just designated 2 experts against Maria Delgado, the same synthetic case that you've been watching. Our workup runs left to right. Um, so 2 tracks are gather on 2 tracks, a dossier on the person and a rebuttal wave against their claim. Every opinion is in the experts report is extracted into a numbered claim with its exact quote and citation. So nothing is paraphrased. And I'll show a validator that confirms that. Then a counter research wave on every claim in isolation, so blind to the others, so there's no groupthink between stations. Then compile a 12-section workup into a memo and run 3 attacks through all of it. So the expert's own past, the other experts in the case, and any literature that was found during a research wave. So notice what's missing from this diagram is a chat window. No chat window. So a workflow like this is typically one prompt pointed at a folder with all of the cleaned files. So that page 2 of the document that we just saw with its citation ID, this is the fingerprint, if you will, that's going to get quoted in the exact file in the report that we'll run. So Here is the expert workup folder. For Dr. Stroud, we have 4 documents that we've parsed cleanly. We have the CV, designation, report, and fee schedule. And 2 tracks like the diagram, the research folder on Stroud, listing licensing, prior testimony, publications, media, any commercial ties, and then the rebuttal claim goes after their other ways. So these are all swarms of agents that we're sending out either onto the web to find things or through the document corpus. And I've done this with 100,000 pages in one run, and that can, with one prompt, you can dispatch hundreds of agents to read over all the different files and cross-reference and validate everything. So, when a research run goes, every source that it finds, it takes a snapshot of the page, and it's tracking all of the sources that it's finding. Again, all of this is specified in a prompt. Anytime it runs into a paywall, it adds to this paywall queue. So then an attorney would come in, they would look through the paywall queue, see whether it's something that they would deem relevant to any analysis, and then buy that and put it through the pipeline. Are there any questions about, I know I'm going kind of fast.
Did you see the question? Do you have an HTML showing your workflow pipeline for clean PHI from records, for cleaning PHI from records, like your expert workup pipeline that can show your architecture?
This is what I had prepared for that. And it includes the parsing step. So I don't have anything prepared that goes into more detail. It's but I would love to share all of that with anybody. So I dropped my email in the chat earlier. Just feel free to shoot me an email with any questions or follow up, and I'd be happy to walk through anything with you or collaborate on anything also. And I actually can't see the chat, so.
Well, we've got 2 different things. So that's I think the last question there. We got Q&A around our Markdown applications program better at OCR or the same. If we marked down our PDFs prior to running on Claude, are there advantages? And I'm not quite sure I understand the question. I think they're like Markdown is just a way to put written content in a file. It's just a super simple formatting structure. And what it does is it saves on token use because rather than having to convert like a Word document to text, Markdown is already text. So when we're using LLMs for a lot of stuff, whether it's local and we want to save on our hardware cost, like just our resource usage locally, or if we're using tokens, we want to use as few tokens as we can at a given time. So usually we try to work in Markdown for that stuff. I'm not sure, Clayton, if that answers your question or not, or if there's if you're referring to a different type of Markdown in PDFs, but you want to get your text into a Markdown format just because it's so easy for a machine to read, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm totally with Chip there. And the issue that I run into frequently is that so if it's a native PDF, it's usually not an issue for a model to comprehend what the documents say at scale. But when it's scanned and there's no text layer, sometimes we'll get sometimes the OCR comes out like this, which is totally unacceptable, and pieces of key information might be altered in a way that changes whatever analysis would be done. So that's why I use 2 models that are cross-checking each other, and I can show the individual outputs. So everything in this folder ended up in one document. So this is all the work that goes into one. Here are the two OCR models. So this one is extracting all the text with the coordinates of the text in question. And then the other one is just running the text and they're cross-checking each other, and anything that doesn't add up, it's flagging for a review queue. And then either me or in theory, a paralegal would go in and confirm the review queue, which would then cascade back through the script. So next time it runs, it doesn't run into or it doesn't flag the same error, and it knows the correct answer. I hope that answers the question.
I think so. You want to run through the last demo there and then go from there?
Yeah, sure, I can. So real quick before I jump into the last demo, which is a little shorter, once a massive workflow comes back, you have to find, or you have to decisively be able to say that everything in whatever document that it created is true and accurate to the source text. So before anything ships, it passes through two gates. Um, and so that's what these are. So the first one's going to run, and we see fail here. So in the first one, I planted two false quotes, um, and the the review gate one, every named person in the workup must exist in the matter, and gate two, every quotation must byte match its source file, and byte match is every character must be identical to the source that it came from, and all that's getting tracked through this fingerprint that's at the top of every document. So those are two ways that it can catch, and then if something does catch, then it'll go back through and fix that. So here's what it looks like: 0 failures once everything's validated, and that way you know that every claim or quote in the final deliverable is exactly as it is in the parse text, which we've proven to be accurate. So let me jump into the third demo. And I don't have any slides or anything prepped for this, but so last demo, quick tour. So this is not one document. This is 5,000 documents wide. It's a TBI research library, thousands of PDF files across hundreds of folders, textbooks, journal articles, imaging papers, and unless I no human could read this library end to end in a reasonable amount of time. So I had agents do it over the weekend on a resume loop, completely unattended. They went through all the documents, tagged, linked 5,000 times. Every document became a citizen of a graph. So here, let me show you the graph. So here is all 5,000 documents as they relate to different topics, people, organizations, diagnoses, statutes, studies, and if I click in on any of these, we can see all of the files that are relevant to that topic. So then an AI could come in here and quickly read up on the literature that we have throughout the source PDFs. So same trust rule as everything else today. Every answer in this system points back to the exact page that it came from. So one connected brain built by agents over a weekend. And I was at the lake with my brother driving the boat for him and his friends while this was running in the background. So That's the just another application.
Do you mind if I talk about this for a second? Go ahead and maximize that screen. All right. So I'm a lawyer. I focus my practice on brain injury cases. And I asked Andrew to build this for me. And basically, it's all knowledge that I can find anywhere in the universe that's relevant to TBI cases. I used to keep thousands of journal articles that I would curate, or Stuart Casper in Connecticut would curate, and then he would send me his several hundred articles. And I've been doing this for 15 years, so I just wanted state-of-the-art knowledge database that I could query, because when we have a case, whatever my client's symptoms are, I'm usually trying to find the medical literature that bolsters or corroborates those symptoms. And no matter what the symptom is, we can find an article that corroborates it. Because TBIs are so variable, then that means some TBI victim somewhere has been documented in some literature to have condition X or symptom X, right? So I'm looking for articles that say, yep, this is known to occur with this type of TBI, the same one that my client had, right? And then I'm going to use that both with my own experts and then to impeach defense experts. So I usually build a bibliography for a case. I'll do a bibliography dump on the defense more than 30 days before trial, not with all the content of the bibliography, but with the title names. And they never really know which 7 or 8 articles I'm probably going to focus using at trial, but at least I produced it all. So this really, I think I just asked this to be created about a week or 10 days ago. Andrew, is that about right? 10 days,
Yes.
roughly? I am playing with it, but that's kind of what this means. So when he says TBI brain, it becomes something that is mine, my firm's, that's unique to us. But for any case, once we build out this new case management system that we should have within a few weeks, then I could just have it run through, the AI could run through my case, my specific client case, Mary Jones, for example. Let's go through all of her medical records. Let's identify every symptom that's consistent with whatever the claimed injury is. It doesn't even have to be TBI, but let's say it's TBI. Now let's cross-match that with the TBI brain. Let's find all the literature, the textbooks, the articles, the state-of-the-art articles, the ones that came out last week, the ones that are going to come out next month, because this is reiterative. And I should be able to be kind of next level in minutes, a task that used to take hours, days, or even weeks if it was done at all. I mean, in the past, I would often hire a PhD grad student and pay them out 50 hours to go, to their medical school or grad school library and find me any articles they could find that discuss symptoms consistent with my plaintiff. Well, now, and sometimes the turnaround time on that would take a while because a grad student might not be available. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they'll say, I can get to it in 3 weeks. Now I think I should be able to do it instantly. So that, I think, when I describe how a lawyer like me might use something like this, then you can start to see the power of it. So what his brain here is showing is, he described it to me. I'm going to mess it up when I try to describe it to you, but every node, it's a computer representation of how the computer or AI thinks and sees, and everything has a relationship to everything else. So as he zooms in on it, he'll describe that, but that's kind of what this is and how we're using it. That's all I'm going to say about this for now. But I just thought it might be important to share the why, because sometimes sometimes I just want to know what time it is. I don't want to know how to build the clock. So I don't know how he built it. I don't really care how he built it. I just care that it works. All right, take it over, Andrew.
Yeah. I think you summed it up great. And the cool part about something like this is once the infrastructure is there, the use case that you just described of going through the medical records and then going to the brain, and by brain I mean this system that we see here on my screen, is essentially one prompt. And that's super powerful because then you can fan it out over, then your creativity becomes the limit. And If the infrastructure is there, you can really do anything, which has just blown my mind over the past few months.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You know, in the previous sessions that I've done, we've always tried to make these the implementations accessible, and this one probably gets a bit more on the technical side, but we wanted to show off some of the things that we can do with the correct infrastructure. And by infrastructure, in this case, we're talking about a Claude subscription so that we have access to Claude code and we can ask Claude to do things. We're talking about implementation with GitHub so that we can save those files somewhere. For Crosley Law, we're talking about a local machine with a 5090, right? So that it can run those local models. And then it's a matter of Tom and Andrew and the rest of the team's creativity to say, what can we do? And all of these examples here, when we talk about risk, I mean, there's some risk that it could miss some PHI, right? And that's a real one. But for Tom's use case here, talking through this, the risk is not that it's going to find and make up and hallucinate a reference because he's going to read the references. It's just a matter of getting there as fast as possible. So that kind of brings us up to time. Tom, I don't know if you wanted to talk at all about the impact that all this has
Yeah,
had
sure.
on the firm. That would be great.
Yeah, let's go ahead and stop the screen share. And all right, so I'm going to spend some time talking about how I'll give you the background on how we got to where we are now. So Andrew graduated from college in 2023 in his last and I run a law firm with 30 employees and six lawyers here. And we're a 100% PI firm with a lot of, probably a lot of typical PI stuff, car crashes, truck crashes. My personal focus is on the brain injury cases. I don't do a lot of the day-to-day work on most of the other cases unless it looks like it's about to go to trial, in which case I get up to speed. So when Andrew came to work, we put him in our intake department, which has 4 people actually. It had a manager and three employees. And he's, maybe got 6 hours left to finish his degree. So he's working part-time here. He learns intake. Then he graduates. He stays here. He's still in intake. But he's also got these, like people that are his age, he's got these phenomenal analytical and computer skills. And so while working in intake, he wrote a program using AI that saves our intake team. He'd be able to answer it better, but a couple of hours for every case we set up. And we're setting up, I don't know, 30 cases a month, something like that. So, and basically the AI would record and transcribe the phone call, then take all the stuff that's brought in from the crash report, take all the PHI or the medical records as we get those, insurance information, insurance cards, whatever you get to set up a case file. And in the old days, we'd have somebody that would type 40 separate entries in to set up the new case file. And sometimes my intake team would get really backed up because if the phone's ringing, that's a priority over data entry. And so what he was able to write for us was a program that they still use today, even though he doesn't work in intake anymore, which automatically does all of that. And then self-reads all the data, whether it's crash report, insurance information, medical records, recorded transcriptions of phone calls. We do these things called ICMs or initial client meetings on Zoom. We can record those as well and then dump all that information into it that can later be used to answer first wave interrogatories or discovery. But it's creating all of this stuff for us and saving massive amounts of time. That's one project. That was the very first one. And it was his genesis. I didn't go to him and say, hey, can you come up with a better way? He just had the knowledge because he worked in that section. And then he figured out a technological solution to make it more efficient. So then I thought, okay, well, why don't we get him exposed to other areas of law? Because he's not a lawyer. He's got an undergrad degree. Maybe one day he goes to law school, maybe he doesn't, but he's got a tremendous amount of now 2.5 years worth of knowledge from working in a law firm and working with a lot of really good lawyers here. And so we're kind of working through the same process with paralegals and litigation paralegals, which we've always struggled to find really good, competent, quality litigation paralegals. And I think AI will make it easier for litigation paralegals to be competent and do quality work without having 20 years of experience. Because a lot of it, paralegaling is being accurate, not making mistakes, not we're relying on paralegals to dot the I's and cross the T's sometimes. All right, so that's part two. Then more recently, and I think some of his favorite projects and what we're seeing, and here's where I'm going to head with this. It's the time savings is about a day a week per employee. So 20% of their time is now saved. I have lawyers that work for me that say they have now they're doing a better job on their cases and more time to spend with their own kids than they ever had before. I have lawyers coming, hey, whatever we're paying him, it's not enough. Because the efficiency gains are huge. There was a case study, I think I remember the name of the case, but the name of the case isn't important. It's something like, it was a brain injury case. There were 3 defendants. There were something like 27 expert witnesses, if you count all the plaintiff and defense experts. And so he designed this project. I think he revealed some of it to you in this thing, which was, let's go through every defense expert. Let's look at everything that they've ever published. Now let's look at every citation they've mentioned in the report. Now let's cross-reference all of them. And fortunately for us, like we find in a lot of cases, different defendants hired experts who overlapped, who had slightly different opinions. So we had impeachment material based on what Andrew put together, and it was something like, gosh, speak up if you can correct me, but it was like 100,000 pages of stuff that went into this that created basically a summary, synopsis, suggested questions, suggested impeachment that Sean Meckler, another lawyer in my firm, used to take all these depots. He was just he said he's never taken a better deposition in his entire life with less work. And I was like, I got goosebumps hearing that. And then he said, and he got to spend the weekend with his kids instead of the whole weekend working. So now multiply that by every employee you have. So after that happened, we moved Andrew's role from a dedicated intake role where he has to be available to do certain things during certain times of the day to a chief information officer role where he's got an office on the next floor up, and he works on whatever the special project is. So it might be this TBI brain last week. It might be the mega case that we're working on next week. It might be systematizing all the paralegal responses, all the discovery in these cases, more or less. First wave discovery is always the same. So why do we have to spend a lot of time working on it? Why can't we just record all the initial client meetings, have all the documents, and have that first wave discovery created for us, right? As we add each medical record, I don't really get into the weeds on how this stuff works. I kind of come up with ideas about what I want, but one thing I want is as we add each medical record, as we add each deposition, as we add each new fact to the case, can I regenerate the medical record summary? Can I regenerate the issues list? What are the most important issues for us to focus on? Where's our biggest weakness in the case? How do we plug that hole? And so the question I would be asking if I were attending this is, okay, so how do we get there? What if I don't have Andrew? How do we get there? And I will have an answer to that question in about 6 months because we're going to try a new project with a new case management program that Andrew's launching for us later this month. And after 6 months, I think we'll have worked out the kinks. But until then, I don't know the answer. I know that there's lots of third-party vendors out there that are wrapping everything in AI and selling us their solutions. Some of them are very good. Some of them are not so good. Some of them are in between. The one thing they all have in common is that they're all very expensive. And the things that Andrew is doing for us seem to be better than some of the expensive ones that we have tried with companies whose names you have heard of. They seem to be better and pennies, seriously, pennies compared to the others. So I think that's where I'll leave it. I just was going to contribute my 2 cents from the 30,000 foot level because I don't really care to know the details of how it all works. I just want to know that it works. And the bottom line is we're having massive time savings and better work product, frankly, than we've ever been able to do.
So I can speak a little bit to that process of trying to find and bring up somebody in that space. But first, let's flip over to John with Anytime AI, and then we'll wrap up with I got a response to that, and then we can answer one or two questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chip. And you are right. We've got John coming in from Anytime AI to tell you guys all the cool things that they do over there as well. We're really happy to have you join us today, John. It's good to see you.
Thanks. Great to see you too. Love what you guys are doing, and you're in a great position where you have somebody who is obviously very bright and also knows your firm backwards and forwards and can build custom things for what you're looking for at that time, right? So congrats on doing that, and congrats on the efficiency gains that you're getting. So if you're a firm and you're wondering how can I do this for myself and not break the bank, I would suggest that you take a look at what we've built. We've built it a little different than a lot of the other ones out there. We actually partnered with some of the best law firms in the country, including Romano Law, which you guys obviously know well. We have a TBI attorney in California named Taylor Ernst. We have Ernie Tosh, which does nursing home law. And we have John Lamuro, who is one of the better known medical malpractice attorneys that we partnered with and said, okay, what are the problems that your firms are trying to solve then that other firms that do your practice area need to solve? By the way, we're also working with a couple of the best trucking attorneys in the country right now to build out a trucking module itself. And so we have 6 PhD AI scientists that work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week that only work on these problems and building them into our platform. So if you're looking for something that automatically does discovery response and you can press a button and auto generate a medical chronology, it already does that. If you're looking for something that every answer it gives you the citation to page and line of where you can find that answer, make sure it's right. It already does that. So a lot of the things that a lot of folks are trying to build already for their firm, we have folks that have built it into our platform, and we bill on a per case basis. 90% of our clients charge it back to the case as a case cost, and it's not expensive. So it runs $250 to $350 a case. So if you would like a free demo, I suggest you go to anytimeai.ai, and I'll put it in the chat, and we'll give you a free demo. And if you have ideas for your firm that you say, hey, can you build this? Because I think a lot of other firms would like it. That's how we've built the whole platform over the last 2.5 years of these AI scientists working every day on this thing. So we've done a lot of the background work. You don't have to start from scratch if you don't want to. And if you want somebody that can, do some things that are special for your firm, we can try to work that in as well if we think it's going to benefit all the rest of the firms that we deal with. So thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You guys are doing awesome stuff over there. And tell him we said hello when you see
Will do.
him. I know that you guys are going to also be at our ANTH Method seminar. Just put the link in the chat box for everybody to check out because that's on AI technology. Chip, you should be there, definitely. But it's going to be very cool. It's in Nashville. It's only limited to 45 attendees. So you guys are going to get some really great one-on-one experience. And we're going to have a lot of fun being in Nashville, a lot of country music. So definitely check out that link and then look at the agenda and come meet us. It's going to be in October.
Really looking forward to that. That's going to be a blast.
It's going to be great. But thank you for all that you do, John. Please put your information in the chat box. Also include your website as well so people can refer to it. And then we will see you back here very, very soon, okay?
Will do. Great to see you. Thank you.
You too. All right, Chip.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, TJ. Just to kind of continue on what Tom was talking about there, I think, and Andrew, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. But I think one of the most valuable things that can be done is, first of all, equip your team with the correct type of platform, right? So make sure you have a company-owned platform, right? Claude, ChatGPT, etc. And then give your folks some room to experiment, right? Set the guardrails. And then I know for Andrew and for me, I mean, we have a weekly call and we jump on and talk about what we're both working on. And Andrew shows me some of the stuff he's working on. I show him some of the stuff I'm working on. And I do this with a number of different peers and people that we're just exploring some things. And that has been one of the biggest accelerators of moving this type of project forward. And I think there's a huge ecosystem around AI, and there's a lot of room for things that come a little bit more off the shelf. And then there's some people who want to get into the nuts and bolts and start to build some things, and they're going to build some things that are going to be custom for the way that that firm operates. So I know for me, those quick one-on-ones where we walk through what we're building, work on things together. And that's not like a service that we offer. That's just something that we both grow kind of from each other. So if you can find someone in your firm who's going to champion it, give them the room to do that, and then try to find someone that they can build off of. I think that's one of the fastest ways to kind of approach this from a homegrown perspective, and build out people on your team that are going to be able to do that effectively.
I kind of want to reiterate the first thing that Chip said about a managed tool. So start with something that you can deploy this month. A managed tool like Claude or ChatGPT with enterprise protections, and then also build out disciplined redaction habits and habits for delivering summaries, chronologies, depot outlines, discovery responses, to make drafting more of a repeatable process. So the custom pipeline that you saw is something that you would graduate to. You wouldn't start with the custom pipeline. And we have a pretty inexpensive consumer grade hardware that we're running all of this on. So the main cost isn't buying the resources for it. It's finding somebody who's interested in doing something, building something with AI.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it, Andrew, Tom, Ginger. This has been great. Our contact info was here. Leon, I may be able to help with that. We work with some companies that do have the BAA and have a rep that they work with. So if you want to shoot me an email, I could try to get you in touch with someone on the BAA side. And we're just about at time too. So if anybody has a last minute question, it's great. But otherwise, appreciate everyone's time today, especially Tom, you and Andrew. Thank you so much for doing this with me. This was super fun.
Like it always comes to this point where I'm like, wait, but there's more. Like I'm not ready for this to end because there's just so much for us to learn about. I hope everybody really enjoyed this webinar today. And I know, Chip, I'm getting questions about where everyone can go see the other webinars that we have done together. And I believe some are on our YouTube channel.
I think they both are. And those are
Yeah.
a little more approachable. I mean, those are some basics, and like everything in this space, they get dated, but I think
Mhm.
they're largely still applicable, good basics, good hygiene to get set up.
Mhm. I almost feel like we should, you know how you and Andrew said you're doing calls, was it each week? I feel like we need to do some here at Connectionology, some
Uh,
check-in calls.
I'd be up
Whole
for it.
group.
If you set up a group call, then I'd jump on and happy to
Well,
chat about this with the group.
we're
I
definitely
think it's
going
a
to do
great
this
idea,
again.
honestly.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do this again because the way that things are evolving and there's just so much going on out there, having somebody that we can go to and help us keep, up to date on the things that are happening would be great. But you guys did an amazing job. We're so grateful for each of your time today, and I am so excited about the next webinars. I know not only will we do this again with you guys with AI and technology, but also bring Tom in to talk about all of this TBI expertise because Tom, I've heard the great things about all the work that you do on those, and I know you have some really amazing talks.
Yeah,
Is there
sure.
anything you guys would like to say before we head out today?
Thanks. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
All right.
everybody. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you, Jennifer.
watching. I will email you after this webinar ends in a few moments. I'll make sure that you have the contact information for Chip, Andrew, and Tom so you can stay in touch with them and all of our incredible partners. But please reach out to them if you have any questions. And of course, Chip is going to help you get some of those slides if you need those today. Same with Andrew, they're happy to help. But thank you guys. I love seeing all your wonderful messages in the chat box. Let's keep these webinars going, keep watching them, keep sharing them. And please go check out our website now. We've got 4 incredible live seminars happening the rest of this year. One's going to be in Denver. That one's on sexual assault, trafficking. We've got one that's going to be in Nashville on AI and technology coming up in October. Another one in Nashville, which is our depositions, our trial with Satch Oliver and his friends. And then our 4th one, very limited space. If it's not already sold out now, is our Italy program. So Chip, you better hurry up and get in there.
I know,
Tom,
right?
we'd like to see you guys there. But that is happening in November. Again, very limited. So if you guys are interested, you got to let us know now before it closes. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. We'll see you back here next week for another webinar.
Thanks so
Bye, guys.
much.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jennifer.
Bye-bye.
See you later.